Hey, what's up? This is Nicholas from Mixdown Magazine here with Nick and Booker from Make Them Suffer at the Corner Hotel. We're going to talk about some favorite records today and some big inspirations. What's your favorite record, man?
So, a lot of people might deem this as a guilty pleasure, but my first record was Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water by Limp Bizkit. That album pretty much defines everything that I am today as a guitarist. My musical tastes, all come from that album. Wes Borland in particular. Although I might not paint myself in body paint, or play riffs that are akin to Chocolate Starfish, I can definitely say that everything I'm playing on guitar now has somewhat been influenced by Wes.
Yeah, sick.
The first album I ever owned was a very iconic one. It was Enema of the State by Blink-182. And I got that album when I was about 11 years old. And I was like, this is just so badass. It's just so naughty. And it crosses like so many boundaries. And I'm 11. I'm just like outraged by all of like what's being spoken about and sung about. And I have this like really fond, is it fond? I don't know. I have this memory though of being in primary school and coming back and like listening to the album and jumping up and down on top of my parents' like marble coffee table in the lounge room, like just going off, playing air guitar, and just basically like going right through the middle of this beautiful marble coffee table and just destroying it. And I just remember my parents running in. My dad's like, "Oh, Booker, are you okay?" My mum's like, "My table, what have you done?" So like that, like the whole family, we remember that moment quite fondly. And definitely didn't inspire me to play piano, but I was playing that before I even got that album, but definitely started to get me like obsessed with music and sort of sowed the seeds for like everything else that sort of came after that.
It's funny how like neither of them are particularly like directly indicative of kind of like where you are now. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because they're both records as well that were like quite polarizing as far as like they were quite not offensive, but they would have been like the first albums that people bought that had like the parental advisory kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It was like, oh my god, they said fuck on the radio, like what the fuck is that?
Exactly.
If you flip that, what are you listening to now that would inspire you? Like what have you been listening to recently that has kind of like blown your mind?
Oh man, this is a hard one. I get asked this from time to time, and I can't give you a straight answer. Like if you look at my Spotify playlist, it's just got everything.
Hot mess.
Yeah. If I had to pick a few artists, now this is just off the top of my head.
No one's gonna judge you for like throwing them off the cuff.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I guess what really tickles my pickle in musical terms is, I like hearing. My tastes are sort of centered towards something in the middle of something that sounds commercialized and at the same time, pushes the boundaries a little bit. So something I've been smashing recently is a record by I don't know if they're a duo or a trio, but they're an experimental hip-hop band called Death Grips, and they have this record called The Money Store, which is pretty much an example of something what I think would be, something in the middle of being commercialized and, pushing the boundaries of the
Kind of left of center
genre. Yeah. So I don't know. It's got like elements in it that excite me in a musical sense. Like I don't listen to hip hop. I barely listen to any hip hop, but there's something about the music that I know is just like so exciting. So yeah, I'm gonna pick that one.
Yeah, cool.
So I've actually been, aside from like all of like the obvious sort of newer stuff that's come out, like I I really dig Northlane's newest album. There's a lot of tracks on there that I think are really cool, and just sort of like, yeah, just like toying with some more, I guess, not commercial's not the word I want to use. What word do I want to use? But like it's more accessible to a wider range of people. I feel. Thank you. Yeah, it's digestible, but it's also like really cleverly put together. So like, I mean, that one I was listening to a lot when we were in America last year and stuff, and then, but I've actually been revisiting some of my like the albums that I was listening to when I was like a bit younger. Because one
like
of like so Songs for the Deaf was like
it's a timeless
hadn't
record.
listened to that in like 5 or 6 years maybe, and just all of a sudden just, I don't know, got a new phone, was like, what music do I want to put on this phone now? And like started revisiting that, and I was like, holy crap, like how have I not listened to this for so many years? It's so good. But I think it's really fun when you do that sometimes, when you have like, say, an album that you just thrash to death and then you revisit it after like, you know, half a decade or however long, and it's like listening to it with fresh ears again, but you're also like revisited with all that nostalgia
Totally.
as well. And like definitely that was my favorite album like to date from Queens of the Stone Age.
I think it's funny. It's like a palate cleanser, because I think with the music industry so like focused on anniversaries, and like this record turned 10 and this record turned 15 and stuff, and it's always a good kind of a reminder to bring people back to records they haven't listened to for a couple of years.
Well, I realized like that album came out like over 15 years ago, which what?
And it still sounds great.
Still sounds so good.
It doesn't sound dated.
No, it doesn't, which is like a really hard thing to do, I think, for artists, is to make music that does not sound dated. I mean, we'll see again in like 15 years, but no, they did an awesome job there. So
it's funny because what Nick was saying about Chocolate Starfish, and with them coming out for download, like I went back and deep dove into that record.
Oh yeah, didn't we all?
And that mix still like kind of, it's astounding that it was like $1 million record. Like it just messed me up.
Yeah.
Easy. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks so much for speaking to us. Cheers.